Yo, we got some value on here tonight. I like it. All right. So again, I want to remind you the book that we are going to be covering this month, Winning the War on Your Mind. Winning the War on Your Mind. Super big fan of this book. And author is Craig Groeschel. You can get it on Audible. Winning the War on Your Mind, Changing Your Thinking, Change Your Life. I got to go over here back to, nope, don't want that. Don't want that. I want to go back up here to the really cool thing about this book is that if you do get it on Audible, it comes with an amazing, as most of these books do, come with an amazing PDF guide. So there's lots of worksheets and there's lots of questions and lots of really great tips and stuff like that that you can get if you were to be getting on Audible. But part one covers 3 different chapters in part one. And part one is called The Replacement Principle, Removing the Lies and Replacing the Truth. Part one, The Replacement Principle, Removing the Lies, Replacing the Truth. Put a 5 in the comments if you've gotten this book, if you've read any of it. Put a 3 in the comments if you're just tuning in to hang on and be a part of it with us. I saw someone say that their book is on the way, showing up tomorrow. I love that. I think you're really going to enjoy it. Awesome, awesome, awesome. A lot of 5s. Love that. And again, the 3s, I want you to know, I would hope that we have just as many 3s. I get that you're busy. I get that, we've got some new people coming on and some new people that don't have, busy lives. I get it. This is a way for you to, hopefully kind of get the spark notes, be able to get some of the personal development without potentially having to dedicate the hours. So that is my gift, hopefully, to each and every one of you that might not have the time to read it yourselves. So part one, The Replacement Principle, Removing the Lies and Replacing the Truth. I will say this book, I got this book because it was like the number one. I read a little bit about it, kind of the little intro to the book. I did not know that this book was going to be as faith-based as it is. I really love it. I think it's amazing. I think that I talked about this on an FAB call, and I just let people know, because I had a couple people reach out to me. I won't say a couple, one person reached out to me. And I want to be very, very cognizant. I want to be very, very inclusive. And so I would like to, and I will work to move forward in this book when it refers to God or Jesus or anything like that. There are some biblical teachings that I find really great, regardless of what you choose to believe in. But I'll do my best to just try to refer to things as a higher power, kind of as they do in like AA, that we cover all belief systems. If you happen to believe something different, if you happen to have a different faith base that you believe, I don't want you to feel like, oh, they're just trying to force feed a God book down my throat or something like that. And so want to be very aware of that, want to be very inclusive to everyone in this amazing organization. But this book was really good. This book is really, really good. And so I did not want to miss out on it. The first chapter of part one is called Perception is Reality. Perception is reality. And we talk about this a lot. And they ask you in this first part to do a thought audit. He talks a lot about, basically the basic concept that, if you think that you can't do something, chances are you're right. Chances are you're right. And he talks a lot in this first part about our thoughts. And he asked you, I wrote this down, think about what you think about. Write that down in your notes. Think about what you think about. In this thought audit, he asks you to kind of take a day, take any day, take tomorrow. As an example, we all have a phone that has notes on it. We all have a notepad or some way of jotting down little notes. It says, think about your thoughts, evaluate your thoughts. Think about your thoughts and when are you most happy? Are you most happy first thing in the morning when you first wake up? Or are you filled with anxiety when you first wake up? Maybe your happiness comes a little bit later in the morning. Or maybe you're filled with whatever it might be, anticipation, excitement, whatever that feeling. What are your feelings midday? What are your thoughts like midday? How are your thoughts feeling in the evening? And what do those thoughts feel like at bedtime? Think about what you think about. I think that's really important for us to, again, evaluate our thoughts. So many times we're trying to change our thoughts. So many times it's just like, think differently. And it's just like, there's something I'm going to touch on here in a little bit that is probably the strongest part of this whole call. And I'll jump to it right now and I'm going to circle back. Write this down, as this might be the number one takeaway from tonight's call. You cannot defeat what you cannot define. Let me repeat that. You cannot defeat what you cannot define. So going back to our thoughts, we need to be very aware. We need to take into consideration, what are those thoughts? So some questions that you can ask yourself. Do I think worried thoughts? Does my self-talk cause me to shrink back in fear? Are my thoughts unhealthy? Are they keeping me from the life that I'm supposed to be living? Now, in the Bible, he references Paul's journey. And talking a little bit about Paul's journey, some of which throughout the Bible is spent while he's in jail. He references Romans chapter 7, verse 15 through 24. And it is a very confused Paul. It is a very confused Paul early on, where he's trying to figure out life and he doesn't really understand the concept of life, very much in the vein of even an apostle didn't have it all figured out the whole time. It's not like they were just born with this innate, I've got it. No, there was a season in which they did not have it figured out. But if you fast forward a little bit to Philippians chapter 4, verse 12, you hear Paul saying, I have learned the secret to being content with every situation. And in part two is all called becoming a thought warrior. Becoming a thought warrior, we're reminded of Paul. And that is, again, taking our thoughts into consideration and realizing that we have power over our thoughts. Realizing that we are not stuck. And in this thought audit, we have the ability to identify the lies you believe. You have the ability to identify the lies that you have allowed yourself to believe. He says, what lies are holding you hostage? He says to write them out. This is very important. Write these down. What are the lies that you are telling yourselves? Do not shy away from this. This is the work. This is the work that comes with personal development. This is the work with digging deep and being uncomfortable for a second and talking. Because again, you're not going to have to report back in front of 70 people on this Zoom. This is for you. In your life, in your inner thoughts, in your spirit. This is for you. So write them down. Because again, like he says, you cannot defeat what you cannot define. If you do not have the ability to define it, to write it down, you will never have the ability to defeat it. In the third part of this, he talks about old lies and new truths. And in this chapter, he talks about Max the dog. Put a 4 in the comments if you love the story about Max the dog. Max the dog is a dog that's sitting up on the fence. He's sitting up on the porch, and Max has an electric fence going around his yard. He's got an electric fence going around his yard. You guys know what an electric fence does. When the dog wanders outside, it shocks him. It only takes a couple times for that dog to wander out and get shocked, for him to realize, nope, I'm not doing that again. So as the story goes, Max is watching, his kids are running by, and a ball gets right up next to the fence line, and everything in Max wants him to run after that and go bark at it. He sees a car drive by. He loves chasing cars. He wants to go, but he knows that if he runs across, he's going to get shot. Now, as the story goes, what Max doesn't know is that 2 weeks after installing the electric fence, the owners found that a child wandered through and got zapped. The neighbors complained about it, and they took the electric fence away. And for years, the electric fence hadn't even been there. But in Max's mind, it was, and it never allowed him to wander outside. Old lies. Old lies. How many of you are stuck in an old lie? A lie you have been telling yourself for far too long that you are stuck in. That the electric fence is going to zap you if you go and run and chase after your dreams, because you've done it a couple times and you got zapped. Can I get an amen? Goodness. How many of us are relying on the material to fulfill our happiness? How many of us are relying on these lies to fulfill our happiness? I listened to that Max the dog story 3 different times. 3 times in a row. For me to go, wow. To hit me like a ton of bricks in the chest going, how many of us are living a life surrounded by an electric fence? A metaphorical electric fence that zapped us a couple times when we dared to think bigger than the world told us we could dream. And then the world went and removed that electric fence, but you've been sitting there on your stoop for how long? Just going, you know what? I want to run. I want to dream. I want to do it, but I'm not getting zapped again. How many of you are stuck in the truth of, I can't do this? I'll never be as successful as so-and-so. Man, I used to have time. I don't have the time I have anymore. How many of you are stuck in these lies? And I don't need you commenting. I don't need you putting in there. I just want you to think about this. The sheer odds of you being here right now. It's 1 billion to 1. To allow a fallacy that you are not meant to do the greatest things on this planet, to allow that shock collar in the pursuit of your dreams to stop you from trying again. He said this, and I loved this. He said, your value is not in what you do. It is in the spirit in which those acts are carried out. A lot of people can do nice things with bad intentions. A lot of people can do nice things with egotistical, selfish agendas. Your value is not what you do. It is in the spirit in which those acts are carried out. And in closing this chapter out, he talks about declaring your truths. After you have identified the lies, after you have identified the lies that you have allowed yourself to believe for far too long, it is time to declare your truth. Declare it. Loud, in proud, in aggressive, in big, in bold, in strong, the same way that you have declared your lies for far too long. It is time to shock the system. In declaring your truths, you are identifying the lies. And what is the opposite of a lie? It's the truth. Once your lies have been declared, it's very easy to identify the declaring truths. I'm never going to be successful here. I am going to find success within this opportunity in the time frame in which it is meant to be. I don't have time for this. I have plenty of time for this. I have been making other things a priority. Declaring your truths. Yes. Ben, and my father would always say this, you say yes, you tell the world, and then you go figure it out. Yes, I am the storm. I love that. I thought this chapter was really beautiful. And in recapping here, this was a brief chapter with notes that I wanted to be very impactful in the time that we had here. I do not want to take up much of your time this evening. But the pieces that we did cover need to be gone over again, as they do need to be reminded. They do need to hit home. Perception is reality. In doing your thought audit, it's time to think about what you think about. It's time to remember, like in Paul's journey, that just because you might be in a state of confusion right now, that does not mean that it will always be that way. You might not have the answers right now. That's part of life's journey. Becoming a thought warrior, and the only way you can become a thought warrior is to own your thoughts, is to be able to identify your thoughts, because like we said, you cannot defeat what you cannot define. And most importantly, we need to find a way for each and every one of you to see that car drive by one more time. And instead of just watching it pass by, knowing that you're going to get shocked if you chased after it, that you decide to get up. You would decide to allow that flutter in your heart to do what it's wanted to do for a long time. You decide to run. You decide to chase after it. You decide to bust through what you thought was going to shock you. And you know what happens when you go through something that doesn't? You run 10 times faster. All of a sudden, you're down the street. And you've been waiting this whole time thinking you're going to get shocked. You know what? Going back to our old story, you don't beat yourself up. We talked about this on a couple calls. It's very important. As soon as you bust through that fence, the one thing you're going to do is, I am so stupid. Why didn't I do this sooner? Remember that it is pivotal to love every version of yourself along this journey. For it is every version of yourself that has allowed you to get to this exact moment in time right now, that has allowed the door to open for you to become your best version of yourself. You had to go through everything that you have gone through. It is all coming to this point. It is all coming to this. In the story of your life, in the book of your life. I think we can all agree there's been enough chapters building up to the climax. It is time for the exciting part. It is time for the audience to go, it's time. Declare your truths. I appreciate each and every one of you more than you know, as always. Every week I will say the same thing. I pray for you guys daily. I think about you daily. I'm talking with a lot of you daily. I'm so excited that we're on this journey together. And I will say it over and over and over again. These calls are hopefully beneficial to you, but they are wildly, wildly, selfishly beneficial to myself. I find myself learning more from these books doing over these last few months than I have ever learned reading personal development books, in the effort of sharing them with you. And so thank you for allowing me to be on this journey with you. Thank you for showing up. Thank you for being present. Thank you for those of you that took notes and got some value from this. And I will say this. Yeah, we did lock this in. Do not miss this Wednesday's What's Up Weekly call. I will be sharing some information. I've been wanting to tease this for a long time, but if you guys want to see the first of many fun announcements that's going to be coming at the January 7th New Year's kickoff event, I'm going to have a little teaser for you of something exciting that's going to be coming in just a few weeks. And so do not miss that. We also have a Canada-only special coming this week. We've also got a company-wide something fun coming this week. Who knows? But I need you to tune in so that you can be a part of it. Don't learn about it from the email that comes afterwards. Come bring all your energy and your excitement like you do on this call. And as always, stay safe, stay blessed, and abundant blessings to each and every one of you. God bless you. We'll talk soon. Bye for now.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thanks.
Thanks, Taylor.
Bye, Tia.
You.
Thank
Bye,
you.
Lori.
Thank you.
Good night, John
Muchas
Boy.
gracias. Muchas gracias.
So what are we waiting for? Oh, God.